Hello and welcome to Atomic Facepalm. I'm Chris.
And I'm Chris. I'm Bre.
I'm Bre.
Okay.
That's Chris. Wait. I'm Chris.
I totally derailed your intro. What
No,
are we
it's great.
reviewing today?
Today, on Played in Full, we review Wolfenstein 2. This is a new Colossus. Is it the new Colossus?
Yeah.
I questioned myself as soon as I said it.
Oh, no.
The new Colossus. Because the old Colossus was a Marvel X-Men character, and that infringes on many rights.
Okay, intro too long now.
Colossus
No,
was a...
Cut.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in once again. Sorry it's been a little while since our last review, but the game we're doing today actually took kind of a little bit, in a good way. So, as always, you can leave a comment. You can subscribe. Those things are fantastic. We do appreciate it. And you can always follow us on Twitter as well. Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus. I didn't realize there were actually quite a few Wolfenstein games before this. And Wolfenstein 2, technically, is not correct.
No, it's like Wolfenstein, like 18.
4.
No, but there's been a lot. Like, I hadn't played any since the, like, original. I don't know if that isn't even the original.
The Wolfenstein 3D is not the original.
Okay.
That, I think, was the third game.
Okay, so that is
Second
the
or third.
only Wolfenstein game that I had played at all until this one.
I played Return to Castle Wolfenstein, which I think came out in, like, I don't know, 2002, somewhere around that realm. I don't know the exact date. And then there was Wolfenstein Enemy Territory. There were quite a few. And then, so this is actually the third game in the series. Like, they actually, for whatever reason, didn't, like, directly relate them. But, okay, Wolfenstein 2. So the character in this, B.J. Blazkowicz, actually is from, I think, Return to Castle Wolfenstein. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. What matters is this was an alarmingly good game. So, like, I think we went to PAX Prime, whatever they're calling it these days.
PAX West.
PAX West. And they had a super long line, and a friend of ours was like, look, I'm not going to wait in that line. I'm going to play it anyway. And we're kind of like, yeah, we're kind of feeling the same way. It looks like it's going to be a good game. We'll play it. Fine. Whatever.
I want to mention that if you waited in that 2.5 hour line, you could have gotten a pretty sweet milkshake cup.
And a milkshake.
And the milkshake that went in it. But the reusable cup looked
Yeah.
really pretty sweet.
I don't know. 3 hours is a long time.
It was 2.5 hours when we kept checking on that
Yeah.
line. I was like, no.
But we also normally cover indie games for the most part on this channel. So not that we don't like AAA games, but it just seems like lately it's been a really good gamut of indie games. So it's like, we can probably just whatever. We're like, we'll play it. You know, we kind of had a small lull of games. Wow, yeah, this took me by surprise by a long shot. Now, this is normally my bread and butter. I'm an FPS guy. I love Quake, like Doom, and the board game is actually pretty good too. I like a lot of first-person shooters, but I wasn't expecting a whole lot from this game.
No, I didn't go. I thought it was going to be a kind of shooter, so I was very surprised where it came across. It was a very fun shooter thing that's going on, almost arcadey and very much a homage to the 3D one that I played. Felt like that when I was shooting and picking up stuff was all very fun and arcadey. And then in between it are these cutscenes that at first were a little jarring. I felt like they're a little too dramatic, a little too emotional. But on further reflection and as I started to play it more, they were some of the more enjoyable parts and more enjoyable cutscenes than I've had in just about any other game where I didn't. Usually when it's a cutscene and it goes on a little while, I'm like, oh, okay, yep, all right, get me to the ship, let's go to the mission, let's do the thing. It's not that I don't enjoy the story, it just is like, this is cutscene now.
Video game cutscenes, too, are potentially very bad.
They can be very bad. This, I didn't mind. I didn't notice that I was in a cutscene for the most part. Most of the time they were fun. I almost always enjoyed all of it.
Yeah.
I'd say I have very few complaints about this game. I enjoyed it.
I have some complaints, which I'll get into because, naturally, hey, we're reviewing it. It's tough to be a perfect game. But for the most part, it was a great dichotomy of very ridiculous action like you're talking about, where it's unrealistic shooting to the point where they know it's unrealistic and they celebrate that. You can carry, I don't know how many, 8 weapons total. More than that, technically, pick up heavy weapons. There's things that you're probably used to, like weapon upgrades you can go through. You have sort of regenerating health, kind of. Like, it does regenerate, but you really want to go around collecting health like old school shooters. The levels are somewhat open, but for the most part, it's linear. Like, it's very stuck in this kind of, like, early 2000s, 1998 shooter type of style, and it works great. But then in between all that, where you're killing like 50 Nazis per screen in pretty humorous fashion sometimes, it then gets into the really serious part where, I mean, there's lighthearted moments in these cutscenes, but it's really like it's a sort of a deep and complex story amid these weird, very sort of cartoonish action areas.
There was really a lot, and not, more than just the gameplay or the cutscenes. There's a lot of stuff that I like going on in this game. I think that it's been politicized quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I definitely enjoyed subtle things, where as you're sneaking around the bases, the Nazi stormtroopers, you can overhear them, and they're having very normal conversations, talking about their brother-in-law, their whatever. And so it kind of, in the middle of all of this, like, run and gun and have fun shooting at them, it's kind of like, but they're people too, and not that in a way that you're supposed to feel bad for them, but in a way that's like, Nazis are not this cartoon. I know that we're kind of making them a cartoon in this when we're shooting at them and everything, but they're not necessarily a cartoon. And on the other side, then the resistance, pretty quickly you're being bossed around by a black woman, very strong, Black Panther's kind of black woman, and she's pretty tough on you and everybody there, and it's kind of this nice balance where it's saying, it's not going to always be easy to stand up and do the right thing and say, fuck Nazis. Yeah. Which I think is a very needed kind of conversation piece, while also still kind of being like, hey, it's also fun to just play a video game and shoot Nazis, like cartoon kind of Nazis.
This is a game that's very aware of what it is. It's not something that's trying to be a deep piece of philosophy, but they're trying to take it as seriously as they can in certain spurts. And at the same time, keeping you entertained with the actual gameplay and just going around and having fun. It's like they somehow nailed this really tough, and that's not easy to do.
And I think at first, I'd say the first like 4 or 5 hours of the game, I was put off by it. I felt like they weren't nailing that tone, but as I kind of played it more and kind of thought about how they're bringing it, I did feel like they were nailing that tone. So I know that some people are definitely saying that they didn't. I think I came around and really decided that I think they did. There was very few moments where I was like, oh, no, let's not do that.
I mean, there are crass moments. There's like pornographic elements. There's a lot of swearing. In fact, this game actually delves into really what could be very sketchy territory, which is misogyny, racism, child abuse, and kind of right away.
Oh, yeah, right off the bat. So, it's like it throws you into stuff where I think that's the problem is that you're coming, you're not playing the game, and then you're playing the game, and it's just like slaps you in the face with it. It's like, we're not going to ease you into this. It's going to go straight into making you, make decisions and to this kind of torture scene stuff.
Yeah.
And so I think that's animal cruelty, or just, I refuse to be cruel to that animal.
I did too, for the record.
But yeah, it's just, I think that when you first start playing it, I think that's the harder part. So I think a lot of those early reviews, maybe the people hadn't been with the game long enough to maybe see that. Yeah. I feel like they bring things together in a way that, not every character that's on the good guy side is good and nice to you all the time. And not every character that's on the other side is going to be, evil Mr. Evil guy. They have families, or they're just, going along with the Nazi regime that taken over America. So
this game we're actually just started watching the Orville, and I feel like with that, and this is going to relate, bear with me here.
You're going to bring these together?
Yeah, I'm going to bring this together. Okay, so I was watching Star Trek Discovery and kind of hated it. And I realized the reason is they're not focusing on character. They have this great budget, awesome visuals. It feels like an annoying movie where it's like, yeah, it looks great, but there's nothing under the surface. So I went and started watching the Orville. No budget. They really can't do much, so they're forced to focus on the characters. Just like the original Star Trek and some of those older shows where it's like they don't have a lot of money, so you better be good at writing. You better be good at doing these interactions. This game is a character study. They're enclosed on this giant U-boat. It's a very claustrophobic environment. They all live next to each other. It's a very diverse crowd out of necessity because the rest of them are gone or being purged. And so it feels like this constant sort of friction. And it also feels like B.J. Blazkowicz is a dying breed. Mm-hmm. Quite literally, when you go into it. Because as soon as you start the game, I didn't play the first one, technically the second one, then play the one before this, whatever that is. So I don't know how that all happened, but it takes place right after that. And he's crippled, and the only way he can function is by putting on like an old crisis suit kind of thing, where it's like this robotic Iron Man suit, and you actually have 50 health for like most of the game. So it's like he's a dying breed. There's not many like him. He's kind of like one of the only brave ones until you get to the point where you have like I don't remember her name, but whatever her name is. She eventually takes over as the leader.
But he's one of the very few soldiers besides, what's his name?
Yeah.
Mr. Acid Tab.
Oh, Wyatt Probst.
Yeah.
Riot, how you say his name? Yeah.
Yeah, so there really isn't a lot of soldiers. Everybody that comes together on this U-boat is, people, renegades, or, you know what I mean? Like, soldiers are gone, and that's why the Nazis have kind of taken over here, and that's why it's So he is very much a dying thing, but he's... And I think that's another interesting thing is that the soldiers that are left, both sides, are very broken. I actually saw, I think it was a Kotaku article today about how that, they're wounded, they're on their last legs, either emotionally, emotionally broken, or they're, physically broken, they're scarred, they're, again, war has this cost and it's kind of taken its toll on them very emotionally. I think that's one of the cooler things is his story in general, his emotional stuff that he's going through all the time is very... He's broken.
Yeah.
He's been broken, and so that's kind of interesting, too.
I don't know if I actually want to get into spoilers in this review. I mean, we can talk about them
at
slightly,
the end.
I guess.
Okay. I definitely would like to do spoiler stuff at the end.
We can do
probably talk about
that's fine.
Gameplay.
Because I feel like there's actually parts in this game that I don't feel would have worked for shows or other games, but it works in this game. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't call it a plot twist, but there's something happens where I was not expecting it.
No.
So we'll get into that. And I feel like that, again, is a big reason to play this game. It's pretty cool what happens. But, yeah. And again, going back to the gameplay element, aside of all this cool stuff, like the drama and the way it's written and the way the characters interact, just a damn fun game on top of all that. It has a progression system, almost like the original Oblivion, where the more you do something, the better at it you get, and you get certain rewards. So if you just headshotting people... you can build up, I don't remember what that one is. I think it gives you better damage when you aim down the scope if you get more headshots.
Yeah, so I don't think that was super clear at first. It was a while. I was, halfway through the game, a quarter into the game before I even realized that once you did, so much with this thing, you got this thing. Yeah. I saw that it was counting down how many headshots or whatever, but I didn't realize I was getting a perk out of that. So if that would have been a little bit bigger on the screen, that would have been nice, I think.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them that I didn't necessarily know about, so you can throw grenades back at bad guys, which I didn't really realize.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a few others.
And another thing is if you die and you reload that level and then you do 2 more headshots and then you die and reload that level and do 2 more headshots, all those headshots count towards your thing.
I didn't realize that.
That's why I was so ahead of you, because I died a lot and a lot and a lot, because I am absolutely terrible at first-person shooters. They're the game that I'm terrible at.
Well, that's one of my minor complaints about this game is the difficulty. So you have your 5 levels of difficulty, and there's one you can unlock. Mm-hmm. And humorously, his little face changes when you go to each different one. So the easiest difficulty, it's got a baby rattle and little pacifier.
That's the original.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. I like that. Little
or not the original, but the one that is my original. I don't know.
Wolfenstein 3D.
Yeah.
Yep. So, but for me, I played on the standard difficulty, which was for most part for me way too easy. But then I would hit these sections and I would just get murdered over and over. And I actually considered bumping it down during one segment, which we won't go into now because it's very spoilery. But it was sort of I would have liked a little bit of a more even difficulty, where to me it was super, super easy, bam, reload 100 times. And, the checkpoints, if you want to go that route, are fine. You can save it whenever you want, which, again, is kind of a rarity in a lot of first-person shooters these days. So, no, kudos on them. But, yeah, I would have liked maybe better balance, instead of just getting wiped out all the time by a certain section. Yeah.
So, for me, I had to kick the difficulty down. I got about to a certain point in the game, and I was like, yeah, I am just not there with first-person shooters. And so I was very glad that in the middle of doing a level, I could just change the difficulty. So I'm not going to complain about any difficulty ratings at all. I could just change it in the middle of the level. I'm happy about that enough that whatever.
What did you think about the level design? The overall level, variety and where you fought and all that stuff?
What's kind of strange is because if you ask me, outside of it, I'm I guess it was kind of bland. A lot of the gameplay stuff is kind of bland, but I enjoyed every single minute of it. Not first-person shooters aren't my jams. I never want to play, just a shooty single-player game.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed all of this. I really enjoyed kind of the arcadey element of it, where I just run around and pick up all the crap off the ground and heal myself up and then, go in and shoot. But But it is pretty straightforward levels. It's very much, it's not like this sprawling map. It's usually kind of down this hallway, left, right. It's a corridor.
I would have liked a little bit more variety. I didn't like how the first level was also the last level and didn't really change much. That was a little weird. The final area where you take on the final bosses, which I won't go into for detail, but it was like the same thing as the first level. I was like, eh. And there's a lot of like, it eventually you go to a certain part in the game where it's just like Doom. And I was like, yeah, but maybe don't do that because Doom just does that in every way better. I think they're trying to do callbacks and make it what's familiar, but I would have liked maybe, I don't know, a stage that takes place under the water like BioShock, or maybe a stage that's on like the Swiss Alps, or just something that really changes up what you're going through. The closest thing they tried to do was go to a bombed out New York City, and I was like, wait a minute, did I just fire up Fallout 4? Like I am sure they recreated this level and took care, but it felt like a Fallout 4 mod. I was not a fan of that level.
I guess I don't want these cartoony ones. I definitely would have liked to spend more time in that like American level. Like there's the one part that everybody's seen in their trailers and everything, which is just like this. I need more of whatever this is. I want to fight in this place. I want to explore this place. It's that, what is that, New Mexico?
Are you talking about the one before you go to Roswell?
Yeah, where you talk to the milkshake Nazi.
Yeah,
or whatever.
I think it was right outside.
Whatever that is, I want that times 10. I want to be in that level a lot more. Otherwise, I really was fine with it. I really kind of enjoyed the game. I don't have complaints there.
These are all very minor criticisms on my part, because then the level design itself is really quite good. I didn't feel like there were parts, again, aside from some sort of hard bosses or having a bunch of guys run at you and it's just like, whoa, this is too much all of a sudden. The progression was good. I liked how there was a train level that was really neat. It was actually one of my favorite levels. They're on a moving rocket train. And again, this is a game, that it knows what it is. So there's like the most ridiculous, crazy ideas. Like the U-boat that you guys use as your home base is the size of a battleship. It's like a huge floating sky fortress. A literal train with like a nuclear rocket in the back of it. Just ridiculous concepts. But it works. It's in this universe.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of ridiculous science stuff that I think kind of feeds into that whole, like, the Nazis were doing all kinds of magical Indiana Jones bullshit.
Yeah.
I really like that. But you definitely, the first time you start seeing them do their Nazi science, you're like, that couldn't happen at all.
No, but again, I think they really take that and run with it. Yeah.
That I didn't have any complaints about that.
It's not like they're trying to actually explain it with science. There are parts, again, that are spoilery, but it's just like, they know what they're doing. They're just being very campy and almost like 1940s science, where it's like, wouldn't you need a helmet in this certain spot? But whatever. It worked. And
so I guess the only complaint I had was that I wanted to upgrade my weapons more.
Yeah.
I did, or just kind of throw. I never use the pistols. I'm not using the pistols. So I would have just rather thrown those on the ground and redone my little tree of what guns I can choose.
Did you know you can unselect upgrades and reselect them?
No, but so I just had all the I had every upgrade I cared about.
There was a lot of upgrades.
I really didn't. At first, it was very much like, I don't want to miss my upgrade that I can find in this level, and I'd hunt them down. But after a while, it's like, I have every upgrade I care about. I can turn these ones on, but whatevs.
And speaking of upgrades and stuff to look for, if you're like a huge treasure hunter and completionist, you spend 100 hours in this game. There is so much stuff.
Yeah, because it's like, and they were kind of, I really like the ones where it's the painting, the
star cards.
No, is that the one where
concept art?
Yes.
Yep.
That's the one. That's the word. I like the concept art. Finding that, I thought that was cool, because then it was usually in the room that you were, doing the concept art for, and it's like, that's cool to seek out how they did it.
Yep.
But otherwise, I did not seek out every single. I mean, I'd always find them and pick them up when I got them, but I wasn't seeking them out.
It seemed like we both spent about 25 hours, maybe from start to finish, for both of us, somewhere around there.
Maybe. I really don't know. My thing was way off because I left it going one night, and I honestly, I would say it's probably, I thought I'd guesstimate 16, but I don't know.
Okay, you can make it a lot longer, because there's also these extra missions that you get halfway through the game where you collect Enigma codes from officers you kill. There's this cool little mini game. It's a very analog mini game. It's like analog hacking. And then you match up all these little signs, and you can go and replay levels at a much harder difficulty and hunt down officers. So there's quite a few of those if you want to go and do them.
So you can use the Enigma codes after you've completed the game and keep playing, and kind of has this replayability kind of thing going on there. And there's supposed to be a DLC, I think, in December? as well. And there was one already, and now there's another follow-up little playable thing.
I fired it up for like 2 seconds, the newest one, and it's basically takes place on a level you've already done, but you get a new character. And he's got somewhat different abilities. I wasn't a lot blown away by it. It's okay.
Sure. So there's that stuff. But overall, do you have any more kind of?
No, I think another part I would just point out that may or may not blow your skirt up is it has location-based damage. So if you take your triple-barreled shotgun and aim at a guy's legs, you'll blow his damn legs off.
Yes, and the same for armored guys. You could blow off their gun, or sometimes I would sneak behind a thing and I'd see just his shoulder, and then I'd pop, because I'm basically a huge chicken shit. And so I usually sneak and, pull off all their armor before then I'd go out and face them, and they'd probably still kill me, but it's fine.
Oh, one other thing I would like to mention is there is a, quote, stealth dynamic, and boy, is that not really stealth. And again, I think it's done on purpose to be totally funny.
Because you're not a stealthy guy. You're in this big metal suit, or you're in a wheelchair, or you're just you're a big guy. You're not stealthing around. It's pretty wonker.
Their stealth system is this. You crouch and you move around. That's it. And you throw hatchets at people.
And I didn't even really understand that was making me stealth.
Yeah, because it doesn't make any sense. So I had two guys standing next to each other, right? And I was like, I'm going to see what happens if I hatchet this guy. Because they're having a conversation.
I know what you're
I throw the hatchet
level.
One, I miss completely and hit him in the shin. He's like, oh, and falls over. And the other guy just keeps walking on.
Oh.
Yeah, so maybe that was a bug, but it was funny.
Because I tried to, if you're talking about the beginning of that Manhattan level, maybe?
I think it was. Yeah, it was in the burned out area.
Yes, yeah. So that's there's the first introduction is two guys with their backs to you. And if you really, sometimes I could take out one and this guy wouldn't notice, and sometimes they would both notice. I tried it several times and I was like, I am done with the sneaking thing. I mean, sometimes, but for the most part, I'd pull the entire level and just, camp and shoot them all down. The AI on the guys, not so good.
No, it's not very good.
Listen, sometimes they would get all bugged out and they wouldn't know where I was because I was like halfway behind a box, and they would just kind of run in circles, and I just.
I kind of forgive that because in a game like this where just the bodies pile up and it's fun blowing them away, I don't care.
No.
I think they made them purposely pretty simple. There were times you have officers, and if you don't kill the officers right away, they alert a bunch of extra guys, which I was fine with because it's fun killing people in this game.
But they don't call other guys.
They really don't.
They don't. They will call and pull the entire level, and that entire level will come at you. But it's not this I thought it was going to be they'd call in reinforcements and I'd keep having waves of guys. But eventually I would pull the entire level through, and then I'd just go through this empty level and I'd kill the officers.
Yeah, and you find the officer just standing there by himself in a corner somewhere.
Fucking chicken shit.
It's okay. But yeah.
I don't know. See, there's all these things that I feel like I should be complaining about, but I just kind of had a lot of fun.
No, I know.
Game.
Same here. It's like in another game, I feel like it would have sucked. But I think this is a developer, Machine Games, by the way, who I really haven't played any of their other games. They knew what they were doing, and they did it well. I mean, even the cutscenes, there's just certain type of background music that goes along with it. It just feels right.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that feeling of these guys are gamers and they're doing it right and they're pandering to me, and I love it.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. There was some sort of special secret sauce somewhere in this game where I was took a game that I didn't think I'd like that much and made it really almost game of the year for me.
Yeah, it was weird because I was like, the last thing I need is another game to think about game of the year because we're getting to that point. And this is now snuck up on us. And it was like, oh. So for me personally, I would highly recommend this game.
Yeah, and even if you hadn't played, because we hadn't played the other game, but I actually kind of want to go back and play the other game.
Yeah, it piqued my interest in the series for sure.
So yeah, this is a thumbs up from me.
Go play it, go buy it. And honestly, if you have older hardware for your PC, I have a GTX 980, and I was able to almost max out the settings and get 50 frame rates.
Oh, I want to actually say that this game was kind of buggy.
Yeah, it's a little buggy.
It is a little buggy. It crashed quite a bit on me. And for a while, if my computer even thought about sleep mode or even hinted about thinking sleep mode, the whole game would crash.
I did the same. So I have two monitors. And if you also have two monitors, I would highly recommend turning one of them off. That seemed to fix most of my issues. A lot of games recently have had issues with that.
But otherwise, if it wasn't crashing, it was completely smooth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I was playing, it just sometimes would crash when I toggle a screen. But otherwise, good. And do you want to talk about some spoilers?
Yeah, let's talk about some quick.
Just
a light spoiler section. So from here on out,
spoilers.
Okay, so the story halfway through, the whole idea is you think Blazkowicz is going to die. I thought he was going to die. They sort of tease it. I mean, you start off in a wheelchair, for God's sakes. Halfway through,
which is super fun. I know it didn't make much sense
No, it
to
was
get
great.
around in
Yeah.
a wheelchair in a submarine because
Yeah.
every doorway has a giant thing, and he's just like.
you can go downstairs. It's good. So you get to this part. One, it's kind of a bait and switch, but like, for whatever reason, it works in this game where you get captured, right, after fighting your way on top of a house that's being carried away, which is awesome. And you get put in a courtroom, and right before you're sentenced to death, you break out of your shackles, and it's probably the hardest part in the game. It's harder than the last area, in my opinion.
My fucking Christ, I bashed my head against the keyboard for like an hour.
It was tough. No, it was legitimately tough. You go through the courtroom, you kill like 250 Nazis, and you're like, oh, this is so great, I'm doing it. But then you're like, wait a minute, how is BJ walking around and functioning? His legs don't work. He's missing his intestines. And then you go and see his mom. And you're like, oh, fuckers. So it was just a quick, like,
dream sequence.
Yeah. And then not only that, this whole other section happens where not your best friend, but a good friend of yours dies. He tries to rescue you. They taunt you. It's like 15 minutes of really shitty, like just the worst thing you could imagine. Your friends are dying. They can't rescue you. You're put in front of like this huge crowd, and the lead antagonist, who you hate, chops your head off like in 3 strokes. And you're like, oh, so I guess I'm gonna play as like maybe like the some other character. No, they capture your head when it falls down this like podium, and then they reattach it to a superhuman body, which is awesome.
It is, and so that's that whole like super science Nazi thing. Like they were somehow discovering every science possibility in the world during the middle of a giant war, and like being able to successfully treat plants' head. Which, and to be fair, in the beginning, the doctor that's on the board has a cat and a monkey.
Yeah,
is it a cat and
monkey?
Cat.
Yeah.
So the cat's head is on the monkey, and he's all about, oh, it's the first head transplant ever.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's cool. So I guess they at least...
No, they build up to it. And there's
that
that superhuman body. It's in the tank the whole time. If you find little little notes and stuff, they've mentioned, that the head can survive so long when it's cut off. And
they definitely, put that out there. But it is that kind of crazy bullshit. But I kind of also enjoyed it again. I thought it was kind of fun, and like
one of my favorite parts is you're a head in the jar, and you're supposed to like nod or blink your eyes at whichever like upgrade you want to get. Because later on you can select 3 upgrades. One's like stilts, different things you can do.
Don't choose stilts.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of stilts.
I would have much wanted the rocket boots or whatever it was that made you smash into things. I think that would have been useful.
Yeah. But it just, again, I just loved how you're a head in a jar. And yet you're still, like, cogent and functional.
Mm-hmm.
What? And the way they save you is by jamming electrodes into your, like, just bleeding socket. Good stuff.
Yeah.
So from that point on, it kind of becomes, like, BJ gets rejuvenated. He's now, like, Superman again. It's good. It's, like, I like that. Again, I don't know if I call it a twist, but I like where they took the story in that regard.
I did too. I really did. I also liked how it really, once he gets because he's really on death's door, not just physically, but emotionally, until he finally gets this new body. And then all of a sudden his whole thing changes and he stops being such a downer about everything. He's like, because he's always talking his internal thoughts. You always kind of get what he's doing. And he finally kind of comes around after that. I also really, whatever her name is, what's the bad lady's name?
Oh,
Frau Engel.
Frau Engel, yeah.
Is terrifying to me.
Yeah.
She was like, I think part of the issue I had in the beginning of this game was like you dive right into her kind of torturing you, and like she cuts off a head and then you got to kiss the head.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I don't know if I can play this game. Like legit, like I don't know
hard.
if I can do this. Like it kind of was that Resident Evil 7 torture thing where I don't deal well with my character once they're like trapped in a situation.
Yeah, you're restricted. You just have to sit there and bear.
You just have to sit there and wait for them to keep torturing me. Something about this is just like, nope.
But man, does it pay off at the end.
And when you get to kill her at the end and just, it comes around.
Very few things as rewarding in a game is implanting that fucking hatchet to her forehead.
And talking to her as she dies.
Yeah,
and
in
like,
very
bitch.
slow voice. And he just twists it open. Oh, man. Yeah, it's sweet redemption.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, again, being a game that knows what it's doing. It's not like they're going to have, you'd be ambushed at the end. It's a cliffhanger, and everyone. No, they were like, we're gonna give you a pretty satisfying ending.
And I felt like they wrapped up a lot of things. The Nazi lady girl on the boat, I felt like that was a good ending for her. She finally is like, dude, I'm not a fucking Nazi. And like goes ape shit. And everybody's like, okay, we got you.
Stop
You're
treating
not.
her like crap. Because really, if you go by the logic of the story, if it wasn't for her, none of that whole game would have happened.
Yeah.
She rescues them.
I know, but you gotta atone for being a fucking Nazi too at the same time.
Sure, but
so she's gotta say it in a way that's like, I'm not a fucking Nazi for them to take her seriously. But I don't know. I'm glad that they closed that, because I thought that they weren't ever gonna deal with that in any way, and they did.
No, they did.
And
I
felt
like that too.
like a good ending. Yep. I feel like they wrapped up most of the ends. I'd say, now that we're in spoilers territory, the one thing I really, really hated is at the very end, you go and dive into that room with that. Yeah. Your wife lady is there. What's her name? Anya?
Yeah, I think so. I don't remember.
Anyway, pregnant, and she's shooting and doing all this stuff. She's shooting like crazy, and then like her top catches on fire, and so she takes her top off. So she's on top of you. She's pregnant, naked.
Dual wielding
SMGs, shooting all these guys, and then there's blood all over her. And I'm just like... Why? We're so close to the end there. You had me for everything, but why did you do that little, like, just give her a bra. There's no way that she was walking around without a bra on, or any, like, why is she buck-ass naked under that jacket? There's just, it's not, I can't.
I feel like that was like, maybe the developer lost a bet and the intern got to like direct that 30 seconds of the game or something.
I can handle heads being put on to other things. I can handle all kinds of stuff, but that lady had a bra on under that jacket. There's something. She had something under there.
That part was absolutely absurd. And that was the only part where I was like, you guys, you went a little too far.
I know, and it was right at the end. You're at like this golden moment. I've made it across the finish line. I did it. I did the thing. And then you're like, no, that's not my reward. Ugh.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully it was pretty brief, but it felt like a scene out of Borderlands, not a game like this. So look, a small scratch, an otherwise shiny piece of armor, but
no, that was my true one complaint. Everything else I said that was complaints, really not that much. But
also another spoiler: you can actually kick Hitler in the head. And I do enjoy how terrible and awful they made Hitler, in the sense that he's an invalid, he has Alzheimer's, he pukes, he's terrible. They just really, really went over the top, making him even worse than you expected. And that part worked fine.
I guess I didn't even really think that he was going to be in it until you get there, and I was like, this makes sense as his role, and it wasn't a huge one. I'm assuming there's another game, and we get to maybe kill Hitler. Can we kill Hitler?
The idea. I think there's supposed to be, I guess it'd be a quadrilogy, but there's supposed to be a third one. Okay. We'll see. I hope it gets made.
Though Hitler is definitely not, he's evil mentally, but he is not the same as Frau Engel.
No, she is like, clearly the one that's in charge.
Yeah, it seems like. But she just is like more, focused on you and, always on your tail. And she's really the antagonist.
She's also smart. Like she's mean and diabolical, but she feels like the Emperor from Star Wars, where she's kind of like not really stupid. Like she knows what she's doing.
No, she's awful and terrible. And
I'm sorry, I just keep thinking of the pregnant lady with the SMGs and the blood.
Why?
Yeah, memorable, be sure.
Sure.
Anywho. But yeah, so obviously, rollicking endorsement from both of us. It seems like, even for someone who doesn't necessarily go to first-person shooters all the time, it seems like you're definitely on board.
No, I'm trying to think of the last, just first-person shooter single-player game that I played.
Half-Life 2?
I didn't play Half-Life.
Really? Huh.
I know that I shouldn't have said that out loud. There's certain suddenly it's just I don't. I've played some, but I did not beat that game. I'm just not. I always run into this roadblock where it's like, this is just too hard for me, and I get freaked out. Like the courtroom scene when you have tons of people around you and there's nowhere for me to hide and pick them off one by one. I just run around like an asshole and get shot up, and then I get frustrated. And I just can't. I can't do it. It's too much. But
no, it's fair.
That's why I was definitely very happy that there was difficulty levels, because it's just I can't. I was for half of the game on normal difficulty, and I would like to go back and play certain parts of it on a little bit higher up and kind of inch into it, because I did enjoy it. But
yep, if you're a seasoned first-person shooter, pick the one that's one above the default. I would say by far. Otherwise, the game is too easy for me. But then again, you're gonna hit those sections where it's gonna be tough. So yeah, good piece of advice. Adjust as needed.
Okay. So,
that's it
outro?
for us. Yeah, outro time.
Can you do it?
I don't know, probably. Anyway, yes, I can do it. So go ahead and subscribe, leave comments, do that stuff. Follow us on Twitter. We'd love to see you and talk to you. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. So close. From Chris.
And Bre.
Good luck.
And have fun.